Let's draw a cute summer beer in Procreate. You'll get a free drawing guide, brushes, and a color palette to follow along. I'll guide you step by step and share helpful tips and tricks, secret techniques, and Procreate features I use all the time. To follow along with me, you can download a free file that includes a detailed palette, a reference image, a canvas, a guide, and a paper texture. My patrons get access to a more detailed guide, exclusive lessons, and the full set of brushes. 3 of those brushes are also available for free to everyone, and those are the ones I'll be using in this lesson. Let's create the first layer and pick this color. Now let's open the Brushes tab and pick the first of the 3 basic brushes available to everyone, the Signature Graphite. Before we start to draw, let's adjust the brush size to what feels most comfortable. When you press a little, the brush gets really solid but still keeps a soft, textured edge. For the eraser, we'll also use the Signature. I always choose this brush for the erasing because it lets you gently soften the drawing or fully erase it. To completely clear the layer from everything you've drawn, use this gesture. To undo an action, tap with 2 fingers. To redo an action, tap with 3 fingers. To get a more solid brush, I press a bit harder. Still, that doesn't mean everything has to be done in one go. It works best when you slowly build up the strokes. No need to draw it perfectly from the start. If something's off, just adjust it with the eraser. To quickly switch between the eraser and the brush, double-tap the pencil. We'll increase the brush size to fill the shape more easily. After finishing the head shape, let's make a new layer for the ears and choose the pastel pencil, the second of the basic brushes available to everyone for free. To get a thicker line, go over it a few times. Don't redraw the line if you want a more delicate, airy line. This brush's behavior also depends heavily on pressure. If you keep the pressure light, the brush gives you a more solid edge. With more pressure, the edge becomes very textured. Now I'll show you a quick way to make your shape look denser. If what you've drawn feels too light, just duplicate the layer and merge it with the original. I use this method all the time, and you'll see it again later, especially when I combine it with another trick coming up soon. Here, as you can see, the eraser is taking away part of the texture. I'm doing it deliberately because having the same texture along the edge can look a bit boring. You need to bring in some rhythm and visual variation. I'll show you more ways to do this later on. This kind of erasing is one of my favorite moves. Another way to add visual interest, nuance, and rhythm is by mixing brushes. Feel free to mix different sizes of one brush or combine textures from different ones. Just make sure to use the eraser when needed. Beginners will do just fine with the free brushes I offer, while the full set is for those who want to grow into professional illustrators. I created 10 well-balanced brushes that complement each other and are always useful. You can watch me draw with all of them in the tutorials on my Patreon and the demo video linked below. Don't press the pastel pencil too hard when you want a tighter, solid line. Pressing harder brings too much texture. That's not what we need here. If you want to move the reference, unlock its layer and move it around like I show. You don't need to touch the reference itself, it'll follow your pencil movement. Don't forget to lock it again after. Let's increase the signature size to make it softer and more textured. Let's start drawing the glasses. First, we'll create the main shape. Here again, we can mix brushes and also use the eraser. Draw like I do, going slightly over the guideline at the bottom. Later, we'll add volume using this little overlap. The shapes don't need to be perfect. We're drawing them a bit distorted on purpose to give the drawing a relaxed feel. Let's create a new layer, which we always do for new elements, pick the next color, and draw the circles. Now, on a new layer, we'll draw the highlights, and then apply a clipping mask to fit the highlight inside the circle. My subscribers know that I always teach how to pick colors yourself in my lessons. But first, before we get into the theory and practice of using color, I'll show you the key steps for drawing this illustration and give you a few very useful tips every beginner illustrator should know. You need to split the bear's paw into 2 separate layers, like I did. This way, one part will be under the next layers, and the other part above them. Let's create a new layer above the bottom paw layer and draw the coconut. If you're having trouble while drawing, check your brush size. You might need to make it bigger or smaller. Now apply a clipping mask to the new layer. Don't be afraid to make mistakes. Everything's easy to fix. It gets even easier if you remember what I've taught you. You don't need to draw things perfectly right away. Quite the opposite. Let yourself draw loosely first, then switch between the eraser and the brush to shape the element the way you want. Here, let's first select the base layer and then create a new layer. This way, the clipping mask will be applied to it automatically. Do the same with the next layer. Here I'm not trying to draw it right from the start. We need first to create the mass and then shape it using the eraser. Now I'll show you how we'll work with color from now on using a very simple example. Let's take this color and draw a circle here. The color doesn't work, so we go to the Value tab. Here we have three parameters: hue, saturation, and brightness. Let's just lower the saturation a bit and fill the circle with this new color. Next, we'll add a few elements and then draw the straw. In the lessons on my Patreon, I use all the brushes from my set. In the lessons on YouTube, I show how to draw using only my free brushes. If you have all my brushes and want to use them for this illustration too, check out how I draw with them in the exclusive lessons and try them out here. Still, don't forget about the three basic brushes. I made them available for everyone so beginner illustrators could see how different brushes can feel and start learning with a limited set. Let's fill the background and then draw the cloud. To do this, we'll greatly increase the size of the signature graphite so the brush becomes very soft. Now we create a layer behind the cloud and draw a soft haze. We'll make the signature graphite even bigger and draw using a very gentle touch. If the haze looks too dense, feel free to lower the opacity or tone it down with the eraser. Next, we draw the sea and then draw the birds. After watching this lesson, try my tips out in practice if you want to grow as an illustrator. You can memorize my methods, but without practice they won't help much. If you have a question or something's unclear, let me know. I'll read all comments and I'll definitely reply. To draw the inflatable duck, use the skills I taught you earlier in this lesson. Always keep mixing brushes in mind. Sometimes you won't need this technique, but in some cases it's the key to making a certain element really work. If your idea feels too complex, always think about how to simplify the way to get the right shape. Draw in parts, gradually building what you need. Just make sure you keep the whole form in mind and don't dive into the details too soon. When drawing the eyes and cheeks, use a clipping mask. Now let's create another layer under the duck floaty layers and draw the beard's body. Now we are ready to move on to the next chapter of this tutorial, where I'll show you a few more important techniques and teach you how to pick the right colors yourself. Usually when I want to add another color, I shift the hue by 1 or 2 steps. One step is 5 degrees. This keeps the new color close to the original. Next, we tweak saturation and brightness. We try to find a balance. The color shouldn't feel disconnected, but it shouldn't blend in too much either. If you're having trouble picking a color, just go with the same settings I'm using. Now let's take the pastel pencil and add a few more lines with the same color. For drawing soft lines, we'll choose the gesture pencil, the third basic brush that's available for everyone. Here we do the same. First check the values of the original colors, then adjust the hue, and after that tweak the other settings. Let's now pick a color for the beard. First create a new layer and apply a clipping mask to it. Then take the base color and adjust it. Let's look at the difference in color that happens when you shift the hue. Using this method, you can create your own palettes and develop a sense of what matches and what doesn't. You don't need any schemes for this, everything is right at your fingertips. In this case, we just need an additional color that won't stand out too much, so I'll adjust the color specifically for this purpose. Switch between brushes depending on the task. If you need to add volume, it's better to use the signature graphite. For solid lines, go with the pastel pencil, and for light lines, the gesture pencil. These are the brushes you can download for free along with the file and try everything I show in this tutorial. When I'm picking a color, I already know what I'll be using it for. If I need to add some volume, I make the saturation or brightness a bit more noticeable. If I just want to add a slight touch, I go for more moderate settings so it doesn't stand out too much from the base color. But this isn't a strict rule. It all depends on the context. So practice the method I showed you and you'll quickly get a feel for how to work with color. Here, to make the color even lighter, let's lower the saturation. After that, you can reduce the layer's opacity. If you enjoyed this tutorial, give it a thumbs up, share it with a friend, and subscribe so you don't miss new tutorials on my channel. Thanks for watching, see you soon!